This is the Ashish and Ryan Sports and Political Podcast, segment number 3, final segment of the day. But a lot of stuff to cover. Andrew Luck, Tom Brady, golf. Phil Mickelson apparently did something egregious. Give you my take on that. And a little bit on the Inspector General's report. I meant to get to it last week, but could not. We'll get to it now. But anyway, let me start with this. We've got a situation now in the NFL where it's obviously a quarterback driven league. Okay. I'm gonna deviate from this a little bit. The article on NFL.com that is leading the website is why the Jags will make the playoffs. Alright, listen. They were a play away from making the Super Bowl. A play away from making the Super Bowl. And now you are going to analyze why they will make the playoffs. I'm not going to propose firing anyone, but if anyone's going to be fired, this guy should, because he obviously doesn't have any original ideas. He has no original ideas. None. The Jags will make the playoffs. Yeah, they have the NFL's best defense, a decent receiving corps, a very near all-pro running back, and a quarterback that is decent. Okay, this is just absolutely ridiculous. This is the... Oh, I have nothing else to say. I'm just going to write some random thing. I'm not going to say... I'm not going to spend too much more time about this. But what are the reasons? They have a good running game. Jalen Ramsey is a good corner. Their nickname is Saxonville for a reason. That's your reasons that everyone knew coming into this year. Not a big deal. At all. This is ridiculous. Okay? This guy, if any writer in America was to be fired from their company, this guy deserves to be fired as a writer. This is ridiculous. Okay? This is the most unoriginal, unauthentic column I have seen in my life written about anything. And that includes the stupid news writers that make everything partisan hacks. New York Times, etc. Just wanted to throw that in. Other headlines: Panthers want Cam to know checking down is okay. See, this is the thing with Cam. I know he's great, but if you can't figure out that if someone's open in the flat, throw it to him. If you're still going to have to be taught that, you're not an elite level quarterback. You have got to understand the simple reality that the athletes are equal in the NFL. So you're gonna have to make accurate throws, which he doesn't do, and because of the lack of discrepancy in athleticism, the coverage is going to be very tight, meaning that you're not going to have multiple options open, or maybe even one option most plays. So it comes down to schematically. Can you find a way to get a guy open in a way where the defense doesn't keep track of them? Pick routes, wheel routes out of the backfield. So if you can't throw it to the check down guy, whose sole job is to hide on the field, in a sense, get into the zones where the linebackers are drifting away and apart and aren't really accounting for you. If he can't figure out that maybe if the athletes are on the same level and we've got a scheme which counters the equalness of the athleticism, throw it to the open guy, and it just comes down to throw it to the guy that's open. And if the guy's open with 5 yards of extra space, no one should tell you, throw it to the check down guy. I can understand not wanting to throw it away, keeping the play alive. Teaching quarterbacks that is more reasonable, because that means they have confidence, they're cerebral, they understand, but their confidence, their will to win is so much higher it actually works against them. Here, and again, please don't take this as a racial thing that people say, oh my God, you're so against the African American court. No. Russell Wilson throws to the check down guy. Deshaun Watson throws to the check down guy. Cam Newton having to tell Cam Newton, throw it to an open guy if no one else is open. In his, 6th year in the NFL? That is ridiculous. Okay? And he's a great player. He's a great player. He's not a great quarterback. And this is why the cerebralness of his game, completion percentage low, very rigid, doesn't want to change his style, doesn't have great throwing mechanics. And this itself, it shows you that he's not the cerebral player that is expected of an elite level quarterback. He's an elite player because of his package. He's an elite player because of his talent. But he's not an elite quarterback, so let's make that distinction. Okay, transitioning to this, Andrew Luck isn't throwing a regulation football. Andrew Luck has a mental block. Just can't throw the heavy ball. His shoulder is weak, and he's not willing to get past that mental block. His shoulder may not even be weak, he just may be scared to use it. And I come from personal experience here. The concept of look, having a mental block it's a personal experience. I have a leg issue. I walk with a stick, and I will be honest with you. The major issue, the reason why I continue to walk with a stick, I have a mental block. I have been scared to use in the subconscious. It's gone on for so long that it's now it's now apparent to me that it exists in the subconscious, but it's a subconscious thing, and this is what is the deal with Andrew Luck. He is mentally just unable to figure out, to get past that mental thing of, hey, I can throw this ball and I won't hurt myself. I won't get injured again. This is fine. And you know what the coach should do? Draft a quarterback, okay? Because you can't spend, at least with a quarterback, guaranteed money can be at a minimum. And in the NFL, you cut players you don't have to pay them. So what you need to do is a quarterback needs to be mentally tough, be able to process things, be able to react at the snap, and this has something to do with mental toughness as well. Be able to, be able to understand that if a defense changes its play, right? Look, maybe I was wrong. Maybe they're disguising it. Yeah, I can get over that. I'm going to think through this. I'm not going to get overwhelmed by the signals that they're using. Secondly, right leadership, clutch situations. Obviously, third part. The third part of this is reacting upon the snap. Just the mental awareness to anticipate and throw the ball in the right places. It's all about mental toughness, not being overwhelmed if the coverage is disguised, being calm, being thorough. Mental toughness pre-snap, post-snap, in the locker room, leadership. And look, Andrew Luck is a high interception volume thrower. I'm not saying that that's because he lacks mental toughness. And obviously he is smart, but the mental I guess his mental capacity of, I'm going to force this here because I think I can make a play, instead of making the cerebral right decision or overthinking something. Like in this case, because he's a smart guy, he's probably overthinking a lot. So that characteristic, the overthinking of things when it comes to the regulation football, may actually have translated on the field, something we don't know. He's incredibly smart, he's gifted, but he overthinks things. And this may impact him on the football field. I think it's something that we haven't seen of Andrew Luck, but I think we see it now. Secondly, the most important thing, okay, a franchise needs is a mentally tough quarterback. Quarterback that's willing to come off of injuries. Aaron Rodgers, collarbone, able to withstand adversity. Both Rodgers and Brady have had terrible offensive lines. Roethlisberger, he's had his own personal issues. And then cerebralness, post and pre-snap. The need, okay, for one of those quarterbacks that can not only be great when everything's normal, but when there is dysfunction transcended, even within their own lives, personally, body, within the locker room, that mental package is required to be great. And Andrew Luck, great talent. But I don't know if he'll play football again. So I can't say, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope he continues the tradition of Peyton Manning. The league would be better for it. But he is not, I believe, mentally tough enough or mentally sure enough or thorough, or I shouldn't say thorough, he's obviously thorough, he studies the game, mentally resolute enough to make a decision, not only that is smart, but in a resolute fashion where he isn't just chucking it up and getting it picked off. Where he doesn't have to, where he doesn't necessarily have to overcome a mental block to transcend an injury. Right? It's all about overthinking and being resolute in your actions and not being unsure. While I said he has confidence, now that I think about it, the trait that he shares, maybe it shows that he doesn't have enough confidence in the idea that, hey, it's okay to get a 5-yard gain instead of a 50-yard gain. Well, he looks open. I think I can make this throw, but I know it's not the right one. Instead of being resolute and understanding that I can make the 5-yard throw, I can move the chains, I'm not going to turn the ball over. For me, it's about being resolute, being mentally aware to, and lastly, being mentally confident and for sure that something is going to work. Because he is not confident in his shoulder. His lack of confidence or conviction in his throws, or his unwillingness to accept, hey, maybe it's okay to get a 5-yard gain. Maybe it's okay for me to let go and try this regulation football out. It's either his lack of confidence, his lack of, I think surety is like a bad word, but lack of conviction, or 3, I'm trying to find the right word for it, his general lack of willingness to accept that you don't need to hit the home run all the time, and that progress is a reasonable result that will lead to the eventual home run. You don't need to throw the 50-yard pass to score the touchdown on the drive. You don't need, the arm's not going to magically heal itself. You're going to have to throw the 5-yard pass that you feel uncomfortable with. You're going to have to throw the 2-yard pass that you feel uncomfortable with. You're going to have to make a decision to actually go through this rehab process and work on it, and eventually you've got to make the decision to start throwing a regulation football. It's a mental thing. His unwillingness to accept that the short yardage pass could actually be a good thing mirrors his unwillingness to gain confidence or even try a regulation football. It's about mentally, his rigidness mentally is a gift in some ways because he's so smart and his ability to memorize things and keep things in his head. But that's also a negative when he experiences this downfall and isn't able to get those experiences out of his head and work at trying to improve himself. So he could lack confidence, he could lack assertiveness in terms of his mental decision making, but he could also lack the kind of understanding that things happen, that not everything is rigid, and that while he's smart and that it can work 80-90% of the time, the rigidness costs him when the defense disguises its coverage in the last 10%. When, I've got an unforeseen injury, how do I respond? That unforeseen 10% type of thing. So there are a lot of ways to look at it, but it's all mental for me. It is all mental. And it comes down to his mental psyche, and I believe whatever the reason, I've listed 3, that not only applies to his injury, it translates to his high interception, high risk type of play on the field, where the only thing that keeps him away from Rodgers-Brady status is the fact that he throws a lot of picks. So that mental state that he's in as a result of this injury translates to the field. I don't know if he's going to play again. If I were the Colts, I would draft a quarterback next year or trade for a quarterback in the draft, because quarterback's important, and you can't wait for a franchise guy that's never going to play again. So Anyway, this, actually, we got one more thing, don't we? We got golf to talk about. I got like 7 minutes left. But we have golf to talk about, people. Golf. Golf purists are upset because Phil Mickelson hit a ball 17 over par, barely made the cut. Horrible course. The winning score was even par. I believe it was even par. Let me check the winning score, but I believe it was even. This is absolutely amazing. How he was +1. Not even, he was under par and won the tournament. Phil Mickelson was expressing frustration and broke one of the sacred rules of golf. And you know what it did? What it did was bring eyes to the U.S. Open. Watch that terrible golf tournament rather than this other stuff, because Mickelson is a famous golfer. He's a marketable player. And guess what he decided to do? He decided to do something unheard of. He broke the rules. And it made for great TV. Controversy made for great TV. Golf should follow suit. Don't change this rule. And by the way, who cares? Mickelson wasn't going to win the tournament. It doesn't indict his legacy as a golfer. That's ridiculous. But Mickelson shows that golf requires a change to its rigid structure. What it requires: faster paced games, more high pressure situations, less holes, so it's a faster, most pressure. Don't stretch out the tournaments, make them shorter. And evolve personalities. Find guys that you can market, that you can put on ads, that are physical specimen, that transcend the sport, that are crazy, that are interesting, that express their emotions, that aren't the traditional golfer like Phil Mickelson showed, like Tiger Woods was. The deviation from the standard that Phil Mickelson showed is what golf should have done a long time ago, so it wouldn't have to depend on Tiger, but instead create 10 more Tigers. Not as successful as he, but 10 more to carry the sport after he left. And they never did. After Phil Mickelson dropped off over the last 7 years, they couldn't market anyone. Jordan Spieth was a guy, but you're not hearing of him anymore. You need to constantly create personalities. Bubba Watson, Jordan Spieth, Phil Mickelson, Rory McIlroy, Tiger Woods. You've got names. They've got the ability to create characters. but their lack of doing so. And these characters only exist for 1 or 2 years. The issue here, okay, is that with the lack of parity in golf, number one, you need to create some type of parity. So in order to do that, change the rules to favor the skill sets of a certain type of player, a better under pressure player. So, because everyone in golf can hit the ball far in a region that is close to the hole. Any golfer can do that. The difference is this. Make it more about putting. Make it more about the 40-yard putt on the greens, par 4, fourth shot to save par and win the tournament. Make it more about that. Specialize in pressure moments catered to a specific skill set of player, and you will have more parity, because only certain people can withstand the pressure. Dustin Johnson gets taken out of the mix because he can't play under pressure. McIlroy gets taken out of the mix because he can't play under pressure. Arnold Palmer, Jack Nicklaus, Phil Mickelson, Tiger Woods, that benefits them. By the way, don't make the walks so long. Reduce the number of holes so your stars stay healthy. Allow the fans to actually cheer so it feels like it's an atmosphere. Speed up the tournament. Have a putt clock. Allow players to curse. Pay them money to show emotion, to go crazy like Tiger Woods and John Daly. What Phil Mickelson was entertainment. It brought people to the U.S. Open for that moment. More of that, more ratings, more money. You can't depend on over the hill Phil Mickelson and over the hill Tiger Woods to get you ratings anymore. So the sport of golf associations around America and around the world should take heed from Phil Mickelson. Maybe you can break the rules a little bit. Maybe it doesn't have to be rigid. Think about the biggest moments in golf. Okay? A black out of college guy wins the Masters. This is one of the biggest moments. Did something so criminal in the game of golf. And then you got Jack Nicklaus, young college star. Advertisements. And then Arnold Palmer. Obviously, he's part of the entertainment game as well. You've got to transcend things. And like Phil Mickelson did in a, quote, bad way, golf's got to too. Because negative publicity is still publicity. And as you know, all publicity is good publicity. This is the Ashish Narayan Sports and Political Podcast, coming to you live from Hilliard, Ohio. And we'll be back with you tomorrow. Again, I didn't get to the IG report. I'll get to that later this week. I just feel as if there is obvious bias in the FBI. To say that there wasn't is a specific legal term. They were ethical violations. They weren't legal violations. That's why no one is in jail. So recommending changes to ethical norms that already previously existed. The findings weren't new. The results weren't new. The results were meaningless because they don't affect anything, but the findings were meaningful because though the conclusions are not explicit, they are 99% implied that there was bias in the FBI. Okay, and I'll get into this tomorrow, but they just sidestepped with a bunch of technicalities and stepped away from the real issues. Okay, there are some serious things in this report. No one cares because the results, the conclusions, based on legal technicalities, are what? Nothing. They're nothing. They amount to nothing. But every single shred of evidence that they point out means something. And that is the sickness of the fear that our Justice Department has from straying against the status quo. And it watered all the way down to the presidential election. This is the Ashish Narayan Sports and Political Podcast. All that and more coming up tomorrow on the Ashish Narayan Sports and Political Podcast. Coming to you live from Hilliard, Ohio. Review with the little nice instrumental, 1993, 92 I believe, the Chronic by Dr. Dre, nothing but a G thing. Instrumental, one of the greatest instrumentals, one of the best bass lines I've ever heard. But I will leave you with this to enjoy, to let your soul be at ease for the rest of this evening, and hopefully for as long as it may. This is the Ashish Narayan Sports and Political Podcast, coming to you live from Hilliard, Ohio. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for watching, and subscribe, comment, like. Don't say stupid things, though I've already said this, but have a great day, everybody.